Man, it's like they say, everything comes in threes. Alright, there's a number of things that have happened in fairly rapid succession, and I don't have the time to do videos on all of them, so I'm going to do what I'm calling a grab bag. And this is something that I'll probably do again on occasions where I don't have time to make individual videos, or maybe a bunch of things happen that don't really warrant an entire video on their own. In this case, the stuff I'm going to be talking about are the new trailers for Ant-Man, Terminator Genesis, and also what's going on with Wonder Woman. I'll start with the new Ant-Man trailer. What everybody has been saying is true. It's better than the last one. Does that mean it's actually good? Yeah. The thing is, what is the big improvement is there's a much heavier emphasis on humor, which is something the first one was really lacking. That first trailer really just had the one joke at the very end, and it was too little too late. The thing is, even though the balance is better, I don't think it's quite right yet. Because really, up until that gag at the end with the Thomas the Train Engine, pretty much most of the emphasis had been on action. There have been one or two jokes, but there's always been jokes in Marvel movies. There wasn't enough to communicate that this was actually a comedic piece. And I really think that's the emphasis they need to be putting on this. A bit like what they did with the early trailers for Guardians of the Galaxy. They really sold us on these characters and the humor and the outlandishness of this premise, and just buying into how ridiculous it was, and they're tiptoeing into that with Ant-Man when I really think they should be going whole hog. Most of the trailer, they're still trying to sell us on the action. We know Marvel can do action. I don't think anyone questioned whether or not the action was gonna work. That's not the part they need to sell us on. They need to sell us that the tone is going to be fun. And there are hints of that, but I don't think there's enough of it. The other trailer that came out was the new trailer for Terminator Genesis, and it has completely undone the interest that the last trailer managed to garner from me. The previous trailer actually did get my interest peaked because I saw that they were dealing with alternate timelines and seeing how it both related to but changed what we'd already seen. I was interested. I wanted to see the movie, and now, I'm going to spoiler warning what I'm about to say because it's exactly what the trailer should have done. They've now let slip that John Connor himself is actually the villain of the piece. And not only that, making it very clear in the trailer that it is John Connor somehow modified with machinery. This is not a Terminator pretending to be John Connor. It is him. Something has gone wrong with him. Now, honestly, I didn't want to know that. I personally was already sold and was prepared to see the movie. They then oversold, and as far as I'm concerned, there's no way this thing has any tricks left in the bag. It completely tipped its hands. There's no more aces up its sleeve. And now it's just a question of, well, how did that happen? I don't care how it happened, but it would have surprised the heck out of me if I'd gone in not knowing that was going to happen. Now, it's like all you can do is show me the nuts and bolts and logistics of how this actually plays out, and that's nowhere near as interesting as the setup that could have gone any number of ways, and obviously went an interesting way. That's the bitch of this. It's not a bad idea, and it could work, but I would have loved it if I discovered it in the theater. Now I'm gonna have to sit and mull it over and live with it and have my own ideas for so long that there's no way this is gonna be interesting by the time I see it, if I see it. Finally, Wonder Woman lost its director, Michelle McLaren. And the exact reason for that is the generic statement, creative differences. Now, there's some weird stories coming out about that, but it does seem to be that this was a pretty clear creative divide. It sounds like her and the studio couldn't even agree on what time period to set this movie in. But I have no doubt that right now Warner Brothers is scrambling and scrambling fast because PR, if nothing else, they need to find another director and another female director. And that's not me saying, wagging my finger at them, it must be a female director, but the fact that they had a female director on it, if she bails because she's not agreeing with what they want to do and they bring in a generic male action kind of director, that's just gonna look really bad. So I don't really have any names to float. I don't know who they'll go for. I know Michelle McLaren wasn't the only one they were looking at, so maybe they'll go to one of the others they talked to at the time. I don't know. But it's not a great sign, and it just shows more that DC and Warner Brothers don't really have a handle on what it is they're trying to do. Certainly not the way Marvel does. And in fact, Marvel has had a very tight grip on everything from the beginning, and they've been, the only time they've lost a director was Edgar Wright. It took them quite a while, the very end of phase 2, before they lost a director. And DC right out the gate, its first wave of films and one of its biggest names. I mean, hopefully you won't be able to tell at the final product that the creative team had a changeover, but right now it just doesn't look good. So I guess that's it. Grab bag for right now. You got thoughts on any of the stuff that I've talked about? Whatever it is, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Until next time, this council is adjourned.